Hello, hello. Welcome to 3 at 3. How's everyone?
You guys,
Here, how are you doing? So have Kiefer, Louis, Aaron. Kiefer and Louis, they work at Universal Studios. So we're Universal Studios in the house today, here in the theme parks in Orlando. And Kiefer and Louis, they are BI developers or business intelligence analysts at Universal in the marketing department, and they're here today with us, and we're going to discuss currency data visualizations. And if you have never been in the show today, uh, you're going to be a little hungry. We're going to talk about the Big Mac Index, one of the most famous data visualizations related to currencies. And if you've never been in the show, please know that the idea is this is a mystery chart show. Each one of us have a data visualization that the other ones have never seen before. And the idea for us is to, improve in how we discuss data visualizations. How can we, have different perspectives? And what do we think about what is confusing, what is not confusing? How can we make it better? We're gonna have some questions underneath. One of the first ones is, what is this all about? What can we gather just by looking at this visualization for the first time? The second one is kind of like, hey, is there anything that is confusing? And the third one is, how can we make it better? So now we're going to start with the first visualization. So Aaron, show me the 1986 data visualization that started it all.
okay. Before I get to that, I was talking
Mhm.
to someone in HR about this, and they said
Uh-huh.
that they use this
Yeah.
to study for their certifications in HR. So it was weird that there's an actual use case for the Big Mac Index.
Hmm.
So here's the original one from
Hmm.
1986. Got a
That's
couple of
the Yeah, the 1986. So why is this important? So today we're going to show you three different visualizations of the original Big Mac index. For me, I'm and Aaron, we're like data visualization nerds, and we love this Big Mac index because if you go and search right now Big Mac index visualization and you Google that, you will find probably 1,000 different versions of this index. But the cool thing about this is the original one. The ones that invented this was the Economist magazine, and this one is from 1986. We want to show you how they created this first one. As you can see, it's just a table with numbers. If your company is using this and you're all in Excel, please know, tell your users, guys, you're in 1986. You need to go and improve. You need to use BI tools right now. So you can just print this, and to all your friends that have that chart phobia, that they love Excel, you give them that, tell them that they live in 1986. But we're going to show you how you can make this one better. And the second one we're going to show you now, this is the one we're going to start today, the 3 at 3, is from 2010. And we're going to start asking our panelists here, Kiefer and Louis, what do they think about the 2010 version of the Big Mac Index? So, Aaron, show the one for 2010.
yeah. So to circle back on what we
Mhm.
were saying about being back in the 80s here,
Mhm.
the best way to get people off that ledge and into something better than just spreadsheets is like a heat map, so you can see exactly what you want to see, like
Mhm.
what's really popping out. So having this first example of what not to do, at the time it was fine, but they didn't have better things to use, and as they went along they got better and then they got better. So here's the 2010 version.
Okay. So in the 2010, you can see they listed the countries all going down, and then you have now nicer color, right? The yellow color that makes sense with Big Mac and Ronald McDonald's. And the other cool thing, so how you can use this, how most people use this is like if Big Mac costs, let's say $5 right now, you should be able to convert that currency, the US dollar, to let's say another currency and buy with the same $5 a Big Mac. But what this shows is that that's not true. And then you can find that what currencies are overvalued or undervalued in comparison with the dollar. And I'm going to ask Kiefer and Louis. Kiefer, if you want to start, what do you think about this data visualization? What comes to your mind first? And what do you like or don't like about it?
I like the visualization a lot. The colors are really good. What it kind of looks like is greatest to smallest, but then it kind of looks like we're going in the negatives when you see those bars move towards the left.
Okay. Anything else that comes to your mind? Anything else that you notice?
Let's see. The scale at the top is really precise. To me, the Ronald McDonald is a nice touch in there, especially since it's branded to the Big Mac himself. Yeah.
Anything, Louis, that you can see that you think about it when you look at it for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of mixed about it.
Okay,
mostly because I think that, at least right off the bat, seeing the huge kind of Ronald McDonald and the screen kind of takes away from the data. But on the other hand, if what you want is to catch people's attention, then that's a good way to do it, right? Like, at least you can get people's eyes on it just by this huge Ronald McDonald and the visualization, and then you can kind of spend time looking at the actual data itself. I'm also a little bit mixed. I think it's pretty clever that the hand is right over the United States.
Yes.
And at first it seems like it's covering something, but in reality it's really not covering anything, because the United States is kind of like the benchmark for it, right? So it's not gonna be higher or lower than itself. But also, if you don't know that, I guess it could kind of give you the wrong impression that the hand's covering something that should be there. So it's I feel like there's good pros and cons on it.
I love that because I was looking at this with Aaron like 30 minutes ago, and we were thinking, and I didn't notice. I don't know what happened. I didn't notice, and Aaron told me, "Look at the hand; it's right there, it's zero." And I'm like, "Really?" So I mean, I like that. I love that. Let me see. I have Michael here, and then we go to Aaron. The bars are easier to read than raw numbers. However, the background is distracting and maybe make the reliability more difficult than it should. Aaron, can you make it a little bit larger? Or maybe we can. Let me see. Maybe we can do this. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was gonna say was, I understand it looks like they're in a McDonald's here, and you're theming it to that, the Big Mac here, but there's a lot of lines. And it's kind of distracting with the background. So even though it's kind of faded, it's like lighter here, and then it's kind of fade, so you can actually read these a little better. That fade is fine, but it almost would be better if they just had something more generic in the background, so you didn't get lost in which line you're supposed to be looking at.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can see kind of like the red line going across, but just the yellow and now the red. I mean, but it's 2010, right? This was created in 2010, which I think it was pretty good for 2010. And you can see how they moved from that one from 1986 to the 2010. Anybody from the chat? Okay. Oh, great, Len. I quite like this. I will blur the background a little bit more to be less distracting. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, guys, what do you think? What do you think could be done to improve upon this? We talked about kind of maybe something to do with the backgrounds, anything with the colors or the numbers or the way it's set up here. What do you guys think that we could have improved here?
As we get a little bit closer to zero, kind of sort of have median colors to reflect that reference, that baseline. Using yellow for the whole thing kind of depicts that it's all the same, and it doesn't kind of sort of come at you that there are differences. For example, Norway closer to 100, and the currency differences.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it should one should be colored one color, and one should be the other. I understand that they're theming it to that yellow and red of McDonald's, but maybe just tone down the color just a little bit, and then obviously separate the two since they're going in opposite directions.
Correct. There's many different visualizations that you can see. Like, I highly encourage you to look if you're using Tableau, go to Tableau Public, look for Big Mac Index. I believe me, you're gonna find easily 1,000 different visualizations related to this. It's very popular, and the data is also available on the Economist website, still available up to today. And the data still is from 2000, so you have plenty of data. And you can recreate it any way you want. So that's another thing that I wanted to make sure everybody knows.
So if we're looking at like what would be a great way to make this a little better? Obviously, it's 2010, but if we're going to redo it now, what would be better? And I am always a fan of trends. Like, so this is whatever data it's through, but how does it trend it over time? You know, is Norway always been the top there? Has China always been at the bottom? We don't know that. So my way to improve this, if I had to go in, was to find some kind of way to be able to show that trend.
So we have Ray that says a diverging palette will be good, right? Usually people error in the opposite direction. Using a diverging where you should have a sequential palette.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. So what do you like, Louis?
I was gonna say kind of as a follow up to what Aaron was mentioning. What would we do different if we were doing it today? So I don't know, whether the tools or capabilities or even like the standard was there in 2010, but at least, if we were making this in 2021, I think that there's a big component to visualizations now related to, the interaction of them. If you're, as an example, if you're working in Tableau, like having a Vision tooltip is something that's relatively recent, and I think something that's relatively popular. And I actually think that this kind of visualization would be kind of primed for that, to kind of pack a little more information, especially because I feel like if you don't have the context of what the Big Mac index is, you're missing a lot of the background of how to like interpret it. So if being able to have like a tooltip or something where it can kind of give you a definition or a little bit more information about what this is supposed to mean, I think that would be helpful and meaningful to the viewer, as opposed to just kind of an outright comparison between countries, without having like the context of what that means.
Correct.
Yeah. Of course, bouncing off of what Luis is saying, a Big Mac price, as we get to Norway, you hover over it, Vision tooltip, a line graph of the differences of price over the last year or 2 years.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I'll show you. So The Economist has kept up with this visual, and they've made it. I don't even know what tool it's in, but it's a great compromise of all the things that we were talking about. Of like, we wish you could do this and wish you could do that. So here's the current version of it.
Yeah. This current version, before I would tell you guys, it's amazing. I think it's one of the best visualization I've seen, to be honest. I personally love it. The reason is because you can compare specific currencies one with the other. It's completely interactive, and you can see that when Aaron is clicking on some of the countries, it actually change and highlights that country, and also give you all the months back to 2000. And then you can compare the raw data with the gross GDP adjusted. You see a trend in the middle. I mean, it's so good, and of course the colors and the contracts is really nice. Aaron, let's make it a little bit larger. Hold on a second.
I've got it as big as I can.
Here is. So tell me a little bit, Aaron. What are you doing?
So I just wanted to see, like, you can set a base currency. When we looked at this one, the base is the United States. But if you're not in the U.S., that's not as relevant to you than if you're in the U.K. So set it to the U.K. so you can see how that compares to your own currency. I also liked down here, although you can't see it, all these are connected when you hover on it. Something that's like, it's not in the visual, but you can still get context out of it, just like a Vision tooltip would do. I like that each of these countries, you can see the trend over time, so that at a glance, you can see how well each of these are doing, if it's going up or it's going down. Here's a good example. You can see that it was down for a while, and then it's up. Now it's above that whatever the baseline we've set it at. So I just think this does a real good job because you like lollipop charts. I'm not sure what this one's called, but like I like the way that this looks. It is a lot of red and blue. Might be some colorblind issues with that, but it's just a good, powerful way to, like, if you want to know a specific country and how that does, you can do that. I also, Emil, you're always a big fan of the personalization of it, and like don't just say what is the whatever. You hear they're explaining to you what exactly those numbers. They filled those numbers in as you interact with it, so that you don't have to figure it out on your own. It's there in sentence form. So I like that.
What do you like, Kiefer? Anybody from the chat, Ray or Len? Do you like the chart? Do you like this new version of 2021?
Yeah, the interactivity and how the graphs just respond really gives someone an accurate depiction of how things are changing the index.
Correct. Michael, anything that you like about this visualization or anything you don't like over there in the chat? This one is really good. I mean, I think that it's just, it came from them, right? They're the original authors of this visualization. It's actually really, really good. Like Aaron said, I don't know about the red, but I like everything about it. I think it's just give you most of what you need. I really like what they did with the explaining in the middle, right, where it says if you select one country versus the other, then you can see if that currency is, by these standards, overvalued or undervalued. So Ray said, I like the trend. I like the trend at the bottom right. So he likes the trend at the bottom right.
Yeah, and I saw Sydney wanted to know, makes me wonder how much expensive a Big Mac is in Venezuela. Well, bam, look, you click on Venezuela, and it tells you a Big Mac costs 30 million Bolivars.
Bolivars, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, what is cool here is, Sydney, is that it tells you that it's 47.7% overvalued in comparison to the dollar, which is amazing. So you can get that. One of the cool things about this article is I know that the link is on the chat, is that if you keep reading going down, it's amazing what they're saying. There is a lot of people using this chart, and it says how it works and everything here. They're using this to understand how different currencies are. There are actually a lot of economists using this chart and uses this data as a vehicle to understand how different currencies are overvalued or undervalued around the world. So it's a really powerful visualization. Yeah. And Michael says, much cleaner, easier to read. The interactive allows for quite a bit of flexibility on viewing the data. Yeah. I think it's really good. It's powerful. But this is a very, very, if you like charts and you like data visualization, this is a great one to dig in, to look at. Go ahead.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I would change. It would be to replace that red color with some kind of orange color. Maybe, I don't know if...
Yeah, diverging palette on that one would look nice.
Something other than red. But, yeah. For the most part, it's pretty good in my opinion.
Yeah, so we have Ray saying, the only thing I can think of is maybe expanding the spark trends on the left or making each row a little taller, since you have to scroll anyway. They are a little bit flat, and it's hard to see the variation. That's true, because they're very small. Yeah,
it's a good point, because if you have to scroll anyway, you might as well make it a little easier to read.
Okay, so I think that's what everybody. Thanks for sending that, Len. So everybody's saying, the grid microchart is really small, but the use of color in the grid is awesome visual cue that really makes up for the small size. Okay, yeah, because you can figure it out that how it's trending by the color on the left, right? So if it's blue, it's red. You can actually say that by just looking at it really fast. So that's true, and also the number that is there. So you see, it's ranked from top to bottom, right? Like you can see Venezuela is all the way on the top, and it's already giving you the 47% that we were talking about. Just like Venezuela, it's already there on that column. So the 47 is right there already from the beginning. You know that's the most overvalued.
I know it's also a minor thing. Another thing I like about here is it gives you the source of where it's coming from. It
Mhm.
gives you a little context of the prices average of 4 cities. You can actually get the data in a CSV form. So you don't believe us? Go do it yourself. So that's good interactive ability of like if people have more questions, they have ability to find that on their own. And that's kind of the point of self-service analytics. It's not just here's your answer and you don't need it any further. You're supposed to get to more questions like why is it that way? Why is it so high or low? So it's always a series of questions for every visualization you have.
Excellent. Excellent. Anything else anybody wants to say about this chart before we go to the next one? Anything else, Aaron, or I'm sorry,
Nope.
Kiefer or Luis?
I've
Let's
seen
go to the next one. Let's go. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. Kiefer, you want to go or?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Kiefer, oh my goodness, Kiefer, what is this? Oh my goodness.
Hey. So
I think I want to get my Lucky Charm from the my Lucky Charm series or something like that. Mm-hmm.
Little one sentence takeaway without saying too much. This is a Bitcoin rainbow chart. What it does is it shows that cryptocurrency's new high after every halving. Around every 4 years, Bitcoin does this thing where it halves. It halved in 2016, 2020, and then the next half will be 2024. Most recent half was May of 2020 last year. Halving essentially means that your mining rewards are cut in half. New transactions to the blockchain, which is what mining is. Mining is solving logarithmic equations to the blockchain. Those rewards are cut in half. So a quick breakdown of this. Blue and green means buy. Yellow, orange, and red just means sell.
Okay. So for the context for everybody that is watching, Kiefer, he does Bitcoin. He's doing Bitcoin mining, right? So you're doing crypto mining, and Aaron too. So that's why he's bringing in this one because he does that. He works on that. So just want everybody to know where that is coming from. Is it possible? Let me see if we can make it a little bit larger so people can see. Okay, perfect. So what is halving? Can you explain that? What that means?
Okay,
Kiefer?
so halving is when you mine a Bitcoin and you solve that equation. You submit that equation to the blockchain, and what it does is it gives you a payment. But when it's halved, that reward is essentially cut in half. And any new transactions following that will cut in half.
So Kiefer, correct me if I'm wrong, but like halving is bad for the miner because they're getting less rewards. But at the same time, the rarity of that coin increases. So in theory, the price should increase at the same time. So,
yeah, exactly.
Close? Okay.
Exactly.
So what I'm confused here in this chart is there are no dates. I don't know what any of those lines mean.
Yeah. So for this chart, to me, there's no dates. The color spectrum is really wide. The line graph is only within the color spectrum. So my thing is, what is 100,000? What is 50,000? Obviously it's half. But just knowing the prices of Bitcoin, it hasn't hit 100,000. So why is the spectrum going into 100,000? Why is that line graph, pressing up and up and up and following that spectrum?
Exactly. I was going to ask that because it's not 100,000. It's like 45 today. And this is on the left. It says that this is a Bitcoin in US dollars, right? BTC in US dollars.
Yep.
So that's what is on the left side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's following this line graph that's only within the spectrum. But it's like, all right, let's say one day Bitcoin hits down to $1,000. How wide will the spectrum of that rainbow graph become?
And it looks like the width of that line is the same no matter what. It's all the same. And I see it back in like the left-hand side. It went above that red line. What does that mean? Shouldn't that be a selling point as well?
Of course.
Yeah, what do you think, Luis? What were you going to say?
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because it's probably one of the few like use cases where it actually makes sense to use a logarithmic axis on the left, right? Like your numbers are not linear. They're not 0, 1,000, 2,000, right? Each tick as you're going up is, increasing logarithmically, right? So you step up from 5,000 to 10,000, and then the next one up is from 50,000 to 100,000. So it's interesting because I feel like in most of the tools that you use, you always get that option, but it almost never makes sense to use it, with that. But yeah, I agree. I think I think for anyone who's familiar with cryptocurrency or with Bitcoin in general, I think it's pretty easy to digest. But it lacks a lot of the context that for somebody who's kind of unfamiliar with it would be able to really understand exactly what it is. Whether it's what is like the halving or why the axis is not linear or anything like that. But I like the the banding aspect of it. I think it does bring into some context, like the the thought of, is there more to the Bitcoin price than meets the eye, if that makes sense, right? Because I think that a lot of people tend to think of the Bitcoin price or any cryptocurrency price as being so speculative that it has no context and maybe it has no fundamental value or no technical value, but this type of visualization, whether it confirms that there's some value, that there's a way to track the value or predict the value to it, maybe not, but I feel like it at least gives you some, different ideas or different ways of thinking about it. I think that for a lot of people, who are interested in, Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, from like a, trading point of view, you may do the, initial thought that it's like a stock, that it's, like something similar, but it's really not. And at least from my experience, it's not until you really get into, understanding some of the underlying, aspects of like how cryptocurrency works that you can get to the kind of insight, like Kiefer said, where, it's breaching the, red part of the rainbow. Is that really a selling point, right? Like, have you gotten up to a point where, from a network perspective, the price does not make sense. But yeah, I think it's one of those, visualizations where I think it can be really powerful in the right hands, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And then, looking at it and looking at this right here, if you can see my cursor, it kind of looks like, someone's just making a prediction.
Okay.
All right, we're getting into, the sell it point. And it looks like it's just gonna stop right there.
I wanted to say something, and Len, I feel like I'm connected with you because I was just thinking about the same thing when Luis was talking, and I was looking at to the left, and I'm like, this looks like it's like a rainbow, like you got a treasure or something. So that's exactly what he's saying here. I mean, I was just thinking of something like that. So he's saying, I think someone got too creative here with this one. I suspect the rainbow is used to signify follow the rainbow to crop of gold, BTC in this case. So, I think I was just thinking of something similar, right? Maybe this person was just thinking more of hey, this is like a rainbow, you follow the rainbow, you're going to find the gold or something. And that's what it looks like sometimes to me. I'm not sure if that was the main idea, but it happened that it's exactly like a rainbow, right? So
I think I counted nine colors here. If they wanted to bucket those together to give half of that and use better colors, that might make it easier to follow. If you look at the line down at the blue side, where that's the buy, like that's accurate. That when it gets down to that level, that's a good time to buy. When it hits that really red part, okay, that's definitely a good time to sell. Like we're coming up here on that. We start getting into that deeper red. Maybe it's time to sell because it's been accurate the last 2, 3, 4 times. So I get the concept of what it's showing, but I don't know if Bitcoin's price action is identical to the arc of a rainbow. Like it's not always gonna go in a perfect rainbow-esque type shape.
Yeah. The other thing is there's no dates. There's no date, so you don't know when they probably move this to a specific area of all those dates where it aligned like this. I don't know. It's just weird that. Go ahead.
Moving away from dates, it's like kind of sort of Bitcoin you'd want like by the hour. You can go from red to blue in like 3 hours. Same as you can go from blue to red in like 2 hours. You can start the day at red, and by lunchtime you're into yellow, and you're like, all right, let me watch.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Is this an hour candle view? Is this a daily view? What time frame are we looking at here?
Yeah,
correct. We don't know.
This could be 1 day's worth of data. Well, obviously not because of the price of it, but you don't really know because there's no context to it.
Correct. We don't know. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, to make it better, if we start looking at how to make it better, I definitely think I will take out this rainbow. I don't know, because we're not sure. We need a better title. We need the date. And I'm not, I think what Louis said makes total sense. Maybe it's not a bad idea to keep this going from 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5,000. I mean, I don't know, maybe. But I like I think that could be something helpful if it makes sense, but it needs more context. What else you guys can add to make it better? What do you think, Kiefer?
That chart on the left, Len hit a really good point. It's like we went from 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000. It just gets a little skewed. The halving, for example, this let me point it out. This line right here kind of indicates that something's going on between these two. Since I said that halving was every 4 years, that makes me think from here to here is a 4 year, and then from here to here is another 4 year. So we're probably 2012, 16, and then this is 2020, and then onward will be 2024.
Okay.
So making it more clear.
Okay. So Len says, seems wrong to have a left axis that does not increment consistently. Surely that's going to impact the story of the line chart. Is the message true or manipulated? Yeah, I mean, it's so inconsistent that it brings in a lot of people can get confused if they don't know anything about Bitcoin or data currencies, right? Or cryptocurrencies. Anything? Or Louis, you have anything, Louis, that you would change or make it better?
Yeah, no, I was just going to add something like to that comment, and maybe Kiefer was thinking the same thing, but at least from my perspective, I think that was intentional, and not because it was trying to be deceiving or manipulated. I just think it's to my earlier point, like one of those things where if you're not too familiar with cryptocurrency, then it doesn't make sense to have it that way. But I'm 99% sure that it was intentional. A lot of, like Kiefer was mentioning earlier, like a lot of the halvings are related to, the block size reward that you get for mining. And, the computational, I mean, maybe I'm probably going to be glossing over some of the details here and not getting them 100% right. But like some of the, from like a mathematical or like a computational perspective, since all of Bitcoin has to be, computed for a transaction to be, posted on the blockchain, the difficulty increases, either exponentially or logarithmically. So that's why the axis is set up that way, because in theory, like the price is going to follow that type of scale just because of the way that the network works. So it's not like with a stock where you have like something like Apple, being what $130, $140, and then you're expecting it, to go 150, 160. The expectation, at least, from a price perspective, for a lot of cryptocurrencies is exponential or logarithmic. So you're expecting these huge jumps, and so a lot of it tends to be graphed or displayed this way. And also, like, you got to think about it that if you were to normalize this chart and put it from, like, let's say from 0 to 100,000, you're just going to have a huge spike going up and then a huge spike going down, and it's going to make it really hard to interpret the data. So it kind of condenses the line graph a little bit and makes it easier to see, the periods in which it didn't move too much, periods of high volatility. So it's an easier way to kind of condense, these huge spikes up and down that you can see, in any cryptocurrency.
Thanks for that. I mean, it's a great explanation. I didn't thought about that, honestly. It's a great explanation. Aaron, do you have anything else? I have something here from Ray that
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
like. Yeah, so Ray said that if you want to simplify this, you could color the line itself with a divergent palette. Correct? Yeah. Different than one on top, and then you can color just the line. So that's another option. Yeah. You have anything, Aaron?
No, I think I'm good. I think if we were trying to present this in the last hour before a meeting, I think probably the easiest thing would be to remove some of the both directions of those lines, or at least dot them or make them less visible, and obviously change that color palette.
Yep.
Okay. And make it give it a better title, and like Louis said, explain the chart, right? Probably give like a how to read. So you hover to something, and then or have something to say how to read this chart.
Yep.
We need something to explain you how to read it. Some type of instruction somewhere. Okay. So that sounds great. Let's go to the last one of the 3 at 3 today with Kiefer. No, that was for Kiefer. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Louis.
yeah.
He doesn't get two.
Yeah.
So this is my screen, right? I'm navigating here. Here we go.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So let me start at the top. So this is just kind of like the intro to it. It's made by I guess Atlantic Council, which I think is a think tank. But really the topic is central bank digital currencies. So this is something that I think has some overlap with cryptocurrencies, but not really. But it's you're thinking, when you think about cryptocurrencies, you're thinking about the application of modern technology and all the benefits that come with it to something that's as old as the idea of a currency itself. And so this is, I feel like in my mind, almost like the middle ground. So this is the next step of well, what if you took the dollar or the pound or the euro and you wanted to move it to the 21st century? And you wanted to move away, in an almost like increasingly cashless society. You have almost everything's done through your phone, everything's done online. All the transfer of money is happening, with digital bits essentially going from one to the other. So, let me scroll down a little bit, but in the this is the actual dashboard. So over the last few years, a lot of countries have begun or maybe even completed initiatives to essentially implement a central bank digital currency, right? So for the United States, we have the Federal Reserve, that is our central bank. But if you think about it, like even though we have a central bank for the entire United States, we don't do our banking with the Federal Reserve. You go to Bank of America, you go to Chase, you go to Wells Fargo or your local credit union. So this is the idea, at least from my understanding of, what would happen if you took, the concept of a currency or of a, national currency, and you had the government implement it with modern technology, and then you allowed people to bank directly with essentially the Federal Reserve, right? So instead of having to bank with a private institution, what if you could bank with the Federal Reserve of, the United States? You could open a bank account, you could take out a loan through them. You could do everything that you can do through your Chase, your Bank of America, your Wells Fargo, and you're still working with dollars, right? And so that's where I feel like there's almost like that middle ground of it's still a dollar, so it's not quite, getting into the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency. It's still the same concept, same old concept that we were using before, but we're just kind of moving it, to the 21st century. And I feel like in the same way that a lot of visualizations are being taken, from the Excel or kind of like the Big Mac, right? The Big Mac index you took from that newspaper printout into a dashboard that people can interact with. So it's kind of the same concept. So this map is really almost like a status map. The page itself has, maybe some, descriptions on what a central bank digital currency is. If you can scroll down and it'll tell you more information about it, which is one of the things that I like about it, because it gives you that context, if you really want it, if you want to, do a little bit more reading on what it is. But the visualization itself, it'll tell you basically, like I said, like a status, right? So if I go over here, I can hover over the United States. And I'm not sure if you guys can read it, but it says, it pops up a couple of bubbles, tells you the country. That's an easy one. And then it tells you the CBDC status. So it's in research. And what the purpose of it would be. So retail purpose, right? So that would be for us as customers to be able to use it. I can scroll over to Canada, and you get a lot more bubbles. It's in development, so I think that's a step beyond research already. Doing some serious work on it. They have more information about the architecture, the infrastructure, the access, and at first glance, it's a lot of that doesn't really make sense, right? What is the architecture? What is the access? So one of the things that I like is that up here with a lot of you can filter on any of these aspects, any of these attributes. But if you wanted a little more information about what types of architectures you can see, you can hover over it and it'll tell you. If you wanted more information about the infrastructure, you can hover over it and it'll tell you. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't really think that there's too much that's like super innovative about the dashboard. They're not really doing anything too groundbreaking. I feel like I've seen a lot of maps. I mean, it's really cool, but I've seen a lot of maps that have been kind of like built like this. I've seen like a lot of COVID dashboards, just to talk about like a more recent topic that are kind of built around, showing like a global map. But I think it's really user friendly. And especially for a topic that, like I'm fairly familiar with them, but it's still kind of foreign. So, you can click on something like Canada and then it'll bring up a lot more information about it. So, it'll say this is called Project Jasper, give you some key developments, give you the sources of where all this information came from. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. But I feel like it's a really complete dashboard. Not that it's perfect in what it's trying to do, but I do think that it brings up all the information that you could possibly need about this topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So the color, the blue color, I noticed that when you went to Canada, it means that they have more of these bubbles, right? It's like that means that there are more initiatives in Canada related to cryptocurrencies. Is that what it means? Kind of.
Yeah. So I think it's because the project, this digital currency initiative, is further along. There's more that you can talk about it. So like if I hover over the United States,
it's only three.
There is no infrastructure or no architecture bubble because we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
But Canada already has made a decision on what that's going to look like. So you can click on that and it'll give you that information. And so, and likewise, I think that the colors, tied to the status here. So if I click on the blue one, it'll highlight only those countries. I actually think it's pretty cool too. If I highlight, for example, I think there's one for a region. So if I were to highlight, let's see, G7, I guess. It's going to highlight those G7 countries.
Nice.
Some of these bubbles are a little bit different. So these ones, like this one, I don't know if you can see it right here. It's a Euro area one. So I think that's for an overall area. And if I thought it would, but there's some bubbles that if you click on it, it'll kind of zoom in for you. So it's pretty interactive that way. And I think I need to reset the filters here.
So if you hover on it, it brings out those bubbles. And if you just click on that dot, it gives you even more information. No, click on that dot. And then
there you go.
It's even more.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like what I like about this is the context that it provides. This is a deep topic. This is stuff only people that are in this field are going to understand it, and they're going to know what all the stuff is. But for those people, this is a great way. I like all the question marks by each of the filters at the top. It gives you a definition of what we're talking about. When you click on those dots, it gives you even more information inside of there and lets you go to the sources through the links that they have in there. So the interactive ability here is pretty nice.
I mean, that's something that you can use in any dashboard, any data visualization tool, Power BI, Tableau, it doesn't matter. Click. you can use this. So in your filters, you can put stuff like that, right, to make it easier to understand.
Yeah.
And that's something that anybody should do.
Yeah, it's the benefit of having a tool that you can do interactive things with. If you have a Excel spreadsheet or a PDF of a report, that those can only go so far, and those were great in the 1980s. But there are so many tools now that can get you to those insights much better than keeping what you already known and what you feel comfortable with. But in the field that we're in, it's and the executives that are above us, they need to be able to grasp these concepts so that they can do better things in their business.
Yeah, we have Brad Barrett from the chat. He said, it will be great if we could select the color coding. Looks like it's fixed or to status. Is that right?
Yeah. So the colors are only based on on this legend right here. But yeah, that's a great point. Like I if you wanted to, let's say change the color coding to architecture, so you get 3 different options, right? And then you pick, let's say, red, white, and blue, right? And it just colored each one of these options red, white, and blue. Then you could see the whole world and see how countries are divided or separated by architecture, which is something that you can't do right now without having to go one by one. So yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Yeah, one thing that confused me is when I saw the thing on the top. You see, you have green, 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 green on all of those, and then why do they have those 3 colors or 2 colors? You know what I mean? Like,
I would assume that it's like the percent of total that based on this legend that make up. So under architecture,
that's what it is.
There's 2 canceled. I mean that's what I would assume, but I would have to look into it.
You know what I mean? It's not clear.
I agree.
That it makes sense to me. When I wasn't clear from the beginning, I was like, I'm trying to understand what does that means. Okay, so percentage.
And if you scroll down just underneath this graph, like keep going right there. So they have a bar that told you the percent of total. They could have easily have put that same view under each one of those sections at the top, so that people would immediately know that's a percentage of total.
Oh, okay, I got you. Okay. Kiefer, what do you like? Or what are any insights?
Yeah, so I love the colors and basically how it branches out. Everything you select. What I would do, just to change this a little bit more, is just some more explanation on the visualization. For example, North America. See, there you go, something like that, where you can separate it out, just so people know what's there. And then that key, when you scroll down, I would embed that key up there into the visualization, kind of sort of like a scale on the top right.
This key right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I don't see, I feel like, I mean, I'm sure these key findings, I haven't read through them, honestly. I'm sure they're really helpful to understanding it, but it's kind of confusing to me why they would choose to break up 2 visualizations where they could have put them in one view. Like, I don't see why they wouldn't have been able to, put them all both in the same view.
Yeah.
Actually, you went to something that I wanted to look again. Luis, can you go a little bit down? These key findings should be call out numbers or bands on top. 14 countries, 5 countries, 81. All of that could be the key findings should be are very interesting, and they should be some way on the top or on the side somehow that you can see them first, and then underneath, then you have that map. Yeah, I think that Michael was looking at the same thing that I was looking. Hold on. For the key find, it'll be interesting to see the data that shows the cost benefit of moving to digital currencies, cost savings on printing money, fraud, counterfeit avoidance, accessibility to monies in regions that are less developed. Thanks, Michael. Yeah,
that's a good point, Emil. For the most part, you want your things you want people to know immediately at the top.
Yeah,
if they have to look through that dashboard and try to understand what they're looking at, try to find those findings, and then they scroll down just a little bit more, and we've already pointed that out. Then they're going to feel frustrated of having to figure that out on their own instead of having it at the top to begin with.
Because when you look at those findings, you're going to go back to the top again.
Yeah.
So you look at this finding and you're going to go back to the top. So this finding should be before the map.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and especially, you know, for a dashboard that's fairly interactive and that I feel like does a really good job showing this almost like you know, like almost these little diagrams pop up. You know, I'm surprised that they didn't do the same thing for this, right? Like even if it was just kind of like a legend on the left and it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as soon as you hovered over it, like one of these things popped up, but it would show you the key finding or something like that. Just a way of putting it all in the same view.
Correct. Anything that was confusing, Kiefer? Anything that you find that it was a little confusing, or maybe the title, or anything was not there for you that you think you would change? Mm-hmm.
You know, I really like what you said. If we would throw a container at the top or have bands with the information from the bottom, a way to do this visualization, maybe a little bit more diverse, is separating it by continents and scrolling into each continent. And then, you know, getting into the dots from there.
Did you guys notice that in the bottom right-hand corner, you can actually copy this view to clipboard?
Oh, really?
It's down there, right? Yeah, it's hidden.
It's not clear. So check what Aaron, look, what we have here for Ray. Check it out. What is he saying?
For the statuses are ordinal. Research development pilot launched. They would be clear as shades of the same color, then inactive as gray, canceled as black, and other as something else. With those, global status would be clear at a glance.
All right.
Status.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. I mean, it's a nice color scale, but the color itself has no meaning, right? Like you could have them have some kind of meaning, like you said, like something like canceled, like that could be, you know, black or red or something like that, just to give that indicator right away. But yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any really rhyme or reason to why those colors were picked. So it's kind of a miss on just, you know, making it pretty for the sake of looking pretty instead of kind of pretty and functional, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got those 10 inactive, you know, making those gray because maybe they don't matter to this visualization. Maybe you don't want to make it look like there's something going wrong there with that kind of yellowy color.
Exactly. The maybe there's too many colors, right? Maybe there's too many colors. How many colors do we have? 2, 4, 5, 6, 6. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors. Yeah, it's just too many colors. I mean, maybe less colors and then focusing on something specifically. And then, you know what I mean? Like a highlight. So you have the countries on the left and you move to the countries and you highlight what specifically you wanted to see, something like that. Easier to digest, I think. I do like when you click on some of the circles. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, definitely that's something that it's interesting how they do that. I like that. But let me see, what else is confusing? I mean, I think I need a better title. I'm not sure that the title is just, what is the title? That's what it's, something so simple, the title. I mean, well, it says it's a tracker. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just way too high.
Yeah,
but,
it's just completely separated from the actual dashboard.
I mean, those are normal data visualization best practices. Like really good. It needs a good title. Yeah. A title for action, right? So something that it makes it a little bit easier to understand. Let's see what else here. Anything else, guys? Before we're almost there.
No, good. I think it was a good interactive dashboard for those that kind of understand that data. Yeah, we talked about a couple of things that we would change and move around and stuff, but overall, I mean, it's better than an Excel spreadsheet. So it's
yeah.
I mean, maps are not simple, right? Maps are visualizing maps. It's you know, it's good and bad. It depends on how you do it. Sometimes you want to focus on one area instead of having all this large map. But I still like that interactivity. It's pretty good, and I definitely like when they explain everything on each filter.
Yep.
So those are some things that we can take from it. But it was great, Luis. Great job. Really good. Thank you so much. Please, anyone from the chat, don't go because we have one more thing. So Aaron, show them that we have one more thing for you, for those guys that are here watching. For anybody who was watching, we have one little cool thing to show you that we just created. So for you, on anyone that you know from your team that would like to participate on, let me see, okay, on the show. So for Len, for Ray, or anybody that you know, anybody that is in the chat, Brad Batter already registered. Thank you, Brad. So we have this sign-up sheet, and for every week, we're gonna do this. I'm gonna do this even on my vacation. I'll be honest with you. December, January, I'm gonna be here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. And we created a sign-up sheet to make it a life easier for anyone. And if you want to join us on any specific week, we're going to put this on the chat. We're going to have it on LinkedIn. For every week, we have a theme. You can sign up here, and it will make your life easier. We have winter. We have holidays. We have holiday data, winter, Halloween, my favorite. Military already taken, already have military. We're going to have someone from the Navy, Air Force, and Army, and that's going to be on November 10th.
And Kiefer's a big car. Kiefer's a big car guy, so we got him signed up for.
Yeah.
I'm
all for Halloween, and we have one for tacos. Everybody wanted to do the taco theme.
It's National Taco.
For tacos. We have music. This week we have currency. If we don't have one that you like, let us know. We can still change it. And we have different topics, and all you have to do is sign up and join us.
We're doing it every week, so we're not stopping at the end of the year. We just went through the end of the year. So again, we'll take any topics. If anybody's passionate about something, last week we had healthcare on, and the two guys that talked were really passionate about healthcare data viz. If you have something that you're really passionate about, let us know. We will pencil that in to get your engagement.
We have Brad Barrett. He's from hotels and entertainment and cruises. He's going to be joining us in travel. And if you have a passion for something specific, or you work in some specific industry, let us know. You can join us. We like to have individuals that that know that data, and you can join us, have fun, and you don't have to prepare anything. All you have to do is find that data visualization that you like, and come in and join us. Yeah, it's easy as that. Yeah. So, Kiefer, last thing that I'm gonna ask you. What do you like about going through this? And Luis, well, you can start with Kiefer. What do you like about it? What do you maybe learn, or what do you think about it, about going through this? Oh, post the link on the chat, Aaron, so they can use it for Brad and other people. Yeah.
Seeing the different visualizations and hearing what everybody has to say about the visualizations, we can take it back to our jobs and look at it from a different perspective.
Thank you.
And just see what we can do to make visualizations that we use every day better.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Louis.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, I think at least from my experience, like, working and making visualizations, like you tend to kind of get, you kind of end up taking on your own, your own projects, your own dashboards that you're working on. And a lot of times I feel like the few times that you do reach out or work with other people, it's over the more technical side of things. Like I'm trying to figure out how to do this and I can't quite get it. So it's really cool to be able to talk, more about the design side of things and the actual visual aspect of it with other people to get their opinion, get and kind of take in that feedback about a particular visualization. And then, like Kiefer said, bring it back to, the same things that you're making.
Correct. Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea of the show. When I created these ideas in my crazy head, I think I was just thinking I wanted to do something different, because if you go out there and you're working with MicroStrategy, Tableau, Power BI, Click, what you're gonna find is they're gonna tell you how to do things. Well, what I want to do is not that. I want to do how we think about these things and how can we make it better, and also how can we collaborate? So this show, the idea is how to learn how to collaborate better. how to make it better, how to do that first draft, the second draft, third draft. And I learned all of this when I was working with Aaron and Catherine. Thanks for being here, and Brad and all of us when we were in Universal. I mean, the best part was when I was talking with Aaron and I say, Aaron, what do you think about this? Do you understand this? Do you don't understand? And then that's the thing that I think it was missing. And that's what we're doing this show to help people to do that on their job. Yeah. So
the last thing I'll say is, normally at the end here, I always talk about collaboration, which you guys already covered. I think the next step in, data visualization is storytelling. Like, we've come to a point where like people just don't want the ability to see the data. They want you to tell the story or tell their story of what's going on, how you can fix it, et cetera. So I would also always encourage people to make sure that you have the right story in mind of whatever the questions are that the business needs answered, that you have that as your goal, so that you're not just making things on your own and what you think you're the best. We work with clients all the time where we think we know what they need as the visualization person. In reality, that they need something much simpler, which is fine. If that's going to be the easiest way for your end client to be able to understand what you're trying to show them, then go for that. But you have to tell that right story.
Yeah. Story. Yeah. Excellent. So I wanted to say thank you to Kiefer and Louis. You're invited anytime, and Kiefer too. Well, Kiefer already signed up, but anytime, and anybody that is watching, welcome. We want this to be for anyone. Everybody told me that this is for the average user, for the normal individuals that are out there in the offices. So the next week, and thank you for watching. See you next week.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.